Pakistan's playbook of hate towards India must be met with a firm and decisive response, one that is strategically timed and executed entirely on India's terms. What is Pakistan? A fragile, fragmented nation plagued by radical ideologies, deep internal divisions, and numerous insurgencies. It is a perpetually struggling country that, while on the brink of being on a collapse for years, has been kept afloat by its international patrons. The perpetually failing state has never really completely failed. And despite its economic and political instability, Pakistan has demonstrated the capacity to carry out an unprecedented targeted attack, brutally killing Hindu tourists in Pahalgam. The act has shocked a stronger, larger, and technologically far superior India. Now, needless to say, India's military is preparing a suitable retaliatory strategy in response to this barbaric assault. In parallel, several non-kinetic strategic steps have already been taken. And here I mean the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty and cancelling of Pakistanis' visas, etc. However, these actions represent only the beginning, the visible surface of a much deeper and a more complex challenge that lies beneath. But first, who is backing Pakistan? Now, this question carries several layers, so the answer can be very, very complicated. But the most immediate and clear answer, especially when it comes to military capabilities, is China, followed closely by Turkey. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's assertive stance, which calls for holding not just Pakistan, but also its backers accountable, will have to address the growing involvement of both China and Turkey in strengthening Pakistan's military apparatus. So, any comprehensive response must confront the strategic advantage China enjoys through its military foothold near India, particularly in regions like the Shaksgam Valley. Now, the valley was originally under Pakistan's control, but was ceded to China decades ago, allowing Beijing to exert additional pressure on India. Contrary to the commonly held view that China simply filled the void left by the United States after it distanced itself from Pakistan in the 90s, the ties between Beijing and Islamabad run much deeper. Their collaboration, especially in defense, dates back to the Cold War era. When the US and its Western allies eventually severed military support to Pakistan, China had already begun establishing itself as Islamabad's primary strategic partner, a role it continues to expand. In recent years, Turkey has also stepped into this role, further reinforcing Pakistan's military ambitions. And complicating matters for India is the current situation in Bangladesh, again to China and Turkey's advantage. So let's take China first. To understand the depth of China's involvement in Pakistan's defense setup, one must look back at a 1998 article written by Tim Weiner in the New York Times. The piece shed light on China's crucial role in helping Pakistan developing nuclear weapons. While the United States initially facilitated, some kind of training and also turned a blind eye to Pakistan's nuclear ambitions during the Cold War, it was really China that provided the actual blueprint for nuclear weapons. It also supplied Pakistan with enriched uranium, tritium, experienced scientists, and other essential components for building a functioning nuclear arsenal. Without China's direct intervention and material support, Pakistan's nuclear program likely wouldn't even exist. And confirmation of China's involvement had come earlier. In 1983, when a classified report by the United States State Department was made public. It clearly stated that China had provided direct assistance to Pakistan's nuclear program. And this revelation came before Washington imposed sanctions and seized aid to Islamabad, which became a turning point that marked the end of Pakistan's strategic utility for the US. Now, these records are now accessible in the US National Security Archives, offering a well-documented trail of China's support for Pakistan's nuclear and military growth. You can take a look at that. But you would say that is history. So, in the post-Cold War era, China has emerged as the leading defense supplier to two of India's most challenging neighbors, long-standing adversary Pakistan and an increasingly unfriendly Bangladesh. According to data from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, or SIPRI, from 2019 to 2023, which is 5 years, China exported weapons to nearly 40 countries. But what's concerning for India is that over 82% of these exports were directed solely to Pakistan. With Western nations gradually withdrawing from arms deals with Islamabad, Pakistan has grown heavily reliant on Beijing to meet its defense requirements. And these numbers will tell you how this dependence has grown over the years. From 2009 to 2013, 51% of Pakistan's military imports came from China. This figure increased to 69% in the following 5 years. And then between 2019 to 2023, it surged to a staggering 82%. Now, beyond standard arms sales, China has also helped Pakistan develop key defense projects, including the JF-17 fighter jet. Additionally, Islamabad is preparing to add 8 Chinese Yuan-class submarines to its navy, significantly enhancing its maritime power. Now, China's influence isn't just limited to Pakistan. It has also become the main defense supplier to Bangladesh, particularly following the political shift in Dhaka after Sheikh Hasina's ouster in August 2024. The defense relationship between China and Bangladesh has also deepened over the years, in fact over the decades, anchored by a comprehensive defense cooperation agreement signed in 2002, which became Bangladesh's first such pact with any other country. Over 72% of Bangladeshi's weapons have come from China, and in just the past 2 years, this reliance has jumped to 86%. China's military exports to both these countries, which means Pakistan and Bangladesh, include high-value naval assets like submarines and frigates, which are critical to modernizing their respective naval forces. Moreover, China is actively engaging in joint exercises such as the China-Bangladesh Golden Friendship 2024 military drill. Now, while such initiatives may seem routine, they do reflect a broader strategic alignment that is developing, just as India's own diplomatic ties with Bangladesh are weakening. And despite maintaining a public image of improving ties with India, as it is happening right now, China is covertly strengthening both of India's flanks through advanced military support. So this two-pronged approach is raising the strategic pressure on India while fostering an emerging Pakistan-Bangladesh alignment, which, if left unchecked, could significantly challenge India's regional security architecture and has already started showing signs of. If China was the only country supplying arms to India's adversaries, the situation might have been less alarming, largely because Chinese-made weapons are often plagued with quality and reliability issues. Even in recent shipments as of 2021, including trainer aircraft and naval frigates, performance deficiencies have been widely reported. The much-hyped Ming-class submarines offered at steep discounts have also failed to meet operational standards. Several deliveries have since been delayed or placed on hold due to these shortcomings. However, another serious concern has emerged for India. And what is that concern? Which is Turkey's expanding footprint in the region. And therefore, now let's turn to Turkey. Ankara's expanding footprint has become especially evident following the launch of its Asia Anew initiative, which aims to strengthen ties with Islamic nations across the continent, including, obviously, those in India's immediate neighborhood. Take Pakistan, for instance. After Western nations ceased their weapons exports to Islamabad, Turkey became the only other significant supplier besides China. While China was already arming Pakistan extensively, Turkey stepped in to further bolster its defense capability. And what is really troubling is that Turkey has completely banned the sale of military equipment to India. So Asia Anew doesn't include India. It only includes Islamic countries. This policy, which had not been officially announced, came to light unintentionally during a Foreign Affairs Committee meeting on 10th of July 2024. Now, there was a session happening, and during the session, Mustafa Murat Sekar, who was deputy head of Turkey's top arms procurement body, the Presidency of Defense Industries, or SSB, disclosed that Turkey had quietly enforced this restriction on India. And you know what the real problem here is? Unlike Chinese weapons, which are not battle-tested and are of bad quality, Turkish arms are modern, combat-proven, and highly advanced. They have been effectively deployed in various recent conflicts, including the Armenia-Azerbaijan war and the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, making them far more credible and effective. And then there's more. Like China, Turkey's involvement also goes beyond conventional arms sales. Similar to China's playbook of manipulating information, Turkey has been covertly helping Pakistan build a sophisticated cyber force. This cyber unit is reportedly tasked with shaping narratives, influencing Muslim communities in Southeast Asia, conducting digital attacks on the US and India, and shielding Pakistan's leadership from international criticism. These operations are believed to have been underway since at least 2022. And Turkey's influence is also growing in Bangladesh. In 2022, close to the time when Dhaka signed a defense cooperation agreement with China, it also entered into a similar pact with Turkey. This parallel deepening of ties, both with Beijing and Ankara, underscores a strategic shift in Bangladesh's foreign policy posture. While arms producers naturally seek markets for their products, which is very obvious, what sets China and Turkey apart is the coordinated and aggressive nature of their support to India's regional adversaries while peddling anti-India narratives. The fact that they are not just selling weapons but also actively working to influence public opinion, destabilize India's digital domain, and challenge its regional standing makes their actions significant and evolving threat to India's national security. Therefore, for a long-term strategy on Pakistan to work, India has to keep its guard up on the dirty game played by its backers and enablers. And Pahalgam has shown that geopolitically speaking, we must start doing what it takes right now. I'll be back to discuss this and more. Stay tuned.